Thank you. Good morning, everyone. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act, 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is now called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that applies to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. With regards to receiving a copy of a decision of the committee, anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because Committee of Adjustment and the T-Lab will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, the T-Lab, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal, the OLT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. With regards to the hearing procedure, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or the applicant will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or the agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. We certainly want to hear your comments and concerns, but repeating the same comments will not advance your cause. The applicant or the agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee of the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if it's substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those who are entitled to the notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals, either in support or in opposition to the application, will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or the agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. For today's morning, or the 10 a.m. session, we are dealing with items 1 through 13. Before hearing the first item, I would like to have confirmation of the minutes of the last meeting. Members of the committee, have you reviewed the minutes of the last meeting? And if so, may I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Member N.
I move that we adopt the minutes of our meeting in June.
May I have a seconder? Member Saeed, all in favor? Motion is carried, and the minutes of the meeting from the last hearing have been adopted. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for items in this time slot? I see none. However, I would like to declare that I have a conflict of interest on item number 4. The applicant is an acquaintance of mine. I do have 2 other items for the afternoon sessions, which I would declare when that session has started. Madam DST, do you have any requests for deferral?
Yes, we do. We're in receipt of 2 written requests for deferral. The first one is for item number 7, 3445 Shepherd Avenue East. The applicant has requested a deferral to ensure consistency between the plans filed for the related site plan control application and those plans filed with C of A staff.
Thank you, Madam DST.
The second, sorry.
Sorry, I just need to deal with the first one, and then
Yes.
we'll go to the second one.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to know if the agent is here, Matthew Halo.
Yes, Chair, I'm here.
Good morning, Matthew. So we have received a request for deferral for your application, and we have been advised of the reasons for the request for deferral. Let me confirm with the members of the committee. Members of the committee, we have this request for deferral. Any questions or comment at this time? I see none. All right. If there are no questions or comments, may I please have a motion for the request for deferral of application item number 7? Member Saeed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since the applicant has requested for the deferral, I would move the motion for deferral of the item number 7, 3445 Shepherd Avenue East.
And that would be
Signed aye.
that would be signed aye. All right. May I have a seconder, please? Member Taylor. Member Taylor, would you like to second the motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I second Member Saeed's motion.
All right, thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried, and the application for 3445 Shepherd Avenue East, item 7, has been deferred sine die. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members.
You're welcome. Madam DST, can I have other requests for deferral, please?
Through the chair, the second item for deferral consideration is item number 8, 80 Falmouth Avenue. The applicant has requested the deferral to address transportation services concerns and requirements and to obtain an updated zoning notice.
Okay, thank you. For item number 8, we have the agent, Ida. Are you with us, Ida?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 80 Falmouth.
All right, thank you. And we have a request for deferral before us. Members of the committee, we have a request for deferral. I am unable to see you right now, so you'll have to speak up. Do you have any questions or concerns with the request for deferral? Okay, again, as I said, I cannot see the screen right now because it has been temporarily removed. So I need to hear any questions or comments for the request for deferral. So I would start with Member Said. Any question?
Madam Chair, this is Mohammed. I don't have any question.
Okay, Member Macaulay, do you have any questions?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member Taylor, do you have any questions?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So since there are no questions or comments at this time, may I please have a motion? And whoever is raising their hands for the motion, they'll have to speak up.
Madam Chair, I recommend deferral of this application. It's Anne Macaulay.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor to accept the request for deferral by Member Macaulay. May I have a seconder, please?
Madam Chair, this is Mohammed. I second the motion for deferral of item number 8.
All right. And all in favor of this motion, you'll have to say yes, one at a time. So, Member Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you. And of course, it was moved and seconded by the other two members. So the motion has been carried and the application has been deferred sine die. And now I can see you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So application, item number 8 has been deferred sine die. Madam DST, any further requests for deferral for the morning session?
Through the chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so this brings us to the end of the request for deferral. We will now start vetting the agenda, and I will vet the agenda for items 1 through 13, which are scheduled for the 10 a.m. session. So starting with item number 1, 3101 Eglinton Avenue East. This is... I believe there's a staff report, and I will just ask the questions of the committee. First of all, let's see if the agent is there. So Lance Caprillion, Lance, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Yes,
Okay.
I am, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Good morning, Lance. So just bear with me for a moment.
Good morning.
Members of the committee, any questions or comments for Lance at this time? Okay. Lance, are you aware of the community planning staff report?
Yes, we are, Madam Chair. We were working with planning to iron out some issues, and we're very happy with the results, and seems they are as well, so we're aligned there.
Okay, and you have no concerns with the recommended condition in community planning staff report?
No, no concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. And I believe we do not have any other condition unless there's a condition of urban forestry. There is no condition of urban forestry. All right. So members of the committee, if you have no questions on this item at this point, may I have a motion on this application? Member Saeed?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Lance, for having an understanding on the community planning recommendations, which is about outdoor amenity space as well as the long-term bicycle parking. So you have the understanding on that. Subject to those conditions, Madam Chair, I move the motion for approval of item number 1.
Thank you. May I have a seconder? Member Taylor?
Don Taylor seconds, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 3101 Eglinton Avenue East has been approved subject to condition of subject to the condition of community planning staff report, recommended condition. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 2, 3111 Eglinton Avenue East, and we have Lance again with us.
Yes, this is a very similar application. The buildings are almost identical, and the proposals are almost identical, and the conditions are quite similar as well. So we're happy to accept those conditions from community planning.
Okay, that's great. Members of the committee, any questions for Lance at this time? I see none. All right. Can I have a motion, please? Member Saeed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Lance also mentioned, it's a very identical application. Community planning conditions are there to install outdoor long-term bicycle parking. So with those conditions, I move the motion for approval of item number 2, 3111 Eglinton Avenue East.
All right. May I have a seconder, please? Member Taylor.
Madam Chair, Don Taylor seconds.
All right. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 3111 Eglinton Avenue East has been approved subject to condition. Thank you, Lance.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving to item number 3. Item number 3 is 147 Haleybury Drive. And we want to make sure we have the agent here. Leo, are you with us, Leo?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good morning. Members of the committee, any
morning.
questions or comments on this application for Leo? Okay, I see none. All right. If there are no, before I proceed, so Leo, we're in the vetting mode, so I just want to make sure you have no comment at this time before we go into committee.
No, we reduced our application quite substantially to accommodate all the concerns from the counselor and the neighbors.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Members of the committee, if there are no questions, can I have a motion, please? All right, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the applicant for accommodating the concerns. Still, there is a condition of community planning to tie up the plans to the proposed secondary sewer entrance. I hope you understand that. There is a condition of urban forestry. So with these two conditions, I would move the motion for approval of item number 3.
Okay. Seconder, Member Macaulay. Yes, please go
Madam
ahead.
Chair, I second that motion.
All right, all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 147 Haleybury Drive has been approved subject to condition of community planning staff report and urban forestry condition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, for item 4, I have a conflict, so I will step away and I will let Member Macaulay chair this item. I will briefly step away from the dais.
Thank you. Item 4 is 700 Markham Road. The applicant is Nadine Irfan. Nadine, are you present?
Madam Chair, I am.
Thank you. Have you read the conditions of community planning staff?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you okay with them?
Yes, we are in agreement with the conditions by community planning staff.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, do you have any questions? Members of committee, can I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I believe the variances requested are minor in nature and meet the other tests under the Planning Act as well. And I move approval subject to the condition requested by the Community Planning Department.
Thank you. Have a seconder?
Madam Chair, I second the motion for approval.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Item number 4, 700 Markham Road is approved. Thank you very much, Irfan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Macaulay, for chairing that item for me. This brings us now to item number 5. Item number 5 is 84 Layton Avenue. And we have with us Romel, it's Leo Leo. Are you with us, Leo?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions for Leo? There's a community planning staff report, I believe.
Madam Chair, there is none.
Okay, sorry. Okay, my apologies. There are no, but there are conditions of urban forestry, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, Leo, are you aware of the conditions of urban forestry, and do you have any questions on that?
No, I am aware, and this is one of the reasons why we moved the building is to address the forestry concerns from the prior application. So I have no concerns.
Understood. Okay. Members of the committee, if there are no questions or comments for Leo, may I have a motion on this application, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the motion for approval of application item number 5, 84 Layton Avenue, and there is a condition of urban forestry.
All right. May I have a seconder, please? Member
A
Taylor?
second, Madam Chair.
Okay, Member Taylor seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. Application for 84 Layton Avenue has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 6, 101 Libovic Avenue. And do we have Romel with us?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Romel. Just bear with me for a second. Members of the committee, any questions or comment on this application? Okay, I see none. Just want to check if there are no conditions. So, members of the committee, if there are no questions or comments, may I please have a motion? Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of this application for a variance for 101 Libovic Avenue.
Thank you.
There are no conditions.
Okay. Member Taylor?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
All right. Member Taylor seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried, and the application for 101 Libovic Avenue has been approved.
Thank you.
Okay. We now move to item number 7. Item number 7 is item 7 has been, that has been deferred. Sorry.
7 and 8 are deferred.
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, but I didn't put a note here. My apologies. Okay, item number 9. Item number 9 is 41 Nielsen Avenue, and we do have a list of speakers here, so I will hold down that item and come back for a discussion on item number 9. Item number 10. Once again, item 10 is for 28 Lehan Drive, and I do see a list of registered speakers, so we will hold down this item and come back. Item 11, it's the same, we have registered speakers, so item 11, I will hold it down and come back to it for further discussion. Item 12. Item 12 is for 41 Euclid Avenue. And do we have with us Yasu?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Yaso Somalingam, authorized agent on it.
Okay, thank you, Yasu. Just bear with us. Members of the committee, any questions for Yasu at this time on this application? Any comment? Member Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question from Mr. Yasu. I was wondering, you are asking for driveway width, which is apparently quite a big driveway. But could you just quickly elaborate on that if we can handle it during this waiting session?
Okay, so this is a corner lot. The driveway is on the side of the house, so the driveway is apparently coming on the side yard instead of front yard. So the front yard is typically allowed about 50% landscape and 50% of the driveways. But because it's coming on the side yard, and the landscape area is measured from front of the house wall to the rear side of the house wall. So when you put any driveway, with especially the U-shaped driveway, it doesn't meet the zoning requirements. But we have plenty of space in the front yard where we are allowed to go up to 50%, but we had done only about 10% hard landscape there. So because of the driveways coming on the side yard, it's going off the zoning requirements.
Thank you, Yasu. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Member Macaulay?
I have a question again for Yasu. I see that you are proposing interlocking pavers on this driveway. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions, may I have a motion on this application, please? Member Said?
Madam Chair, I move the motion for approval of item number 12, and there are no conditions attached to that.
Thank you. Seconder, Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. Application for 41 Euclid Avenue has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we now move to item 13. Item 13 is 25 Birchcliff Avenue. And we do not have any neighbors, but there were some registered speakers on this. Do we have Rob with us? Rob Carmichael?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Patrice Carmichael? Patrice, you're with us? Okay, I cannot hear you well. Could you please speak a bit louder? I'm so.
I'm not sure what's happening. I think my speaker is turned off. I think you're hearing me on my computer.
Okay, I can hear you fine now. That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, just bear with me. So Joel Craig is the agent?
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie Wong, the agent?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, we have the owners and the agents with us. Any questions on item 13 for 25 Birchcliff Avenue for the owner or the agent? Okay, I see none. If there are no questions or comments or concerns with this application, can I please have a motion on this application? Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I move approval of this application, subject to the urban forestry conditions.
Thank you. Can you just hold on for a second? Can the owner or the agent, can they confirm if they have reviewed the condition of urban forestry and if they have any questions on that? Rob?
No, I've not seen the condition, but perhaps our agent has.
All right. Joel Craig?
Yes, we've reviewed the condition and we're fine with it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So my apologies. I had to kind of briefly go out of the motion. So we have a motion on the floor to approve this application subject to condition of urban forestry, and the applicants confirm that they have no concerns. May I have a seconder, please? Member Taylor?
Oh, second the motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, Member Taylor seconds the motion. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Okay, so Member Said opposes the motion. The motion is carried and the application has been approved subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you. So 25 Birchcliff Avenue has been approved. Oh, Madam DST?
Through the chair, I just want to bring folks who are watching our live YouTube stream. This morning, we're having technical difficulties. We are unable to view the room right now, and our IT folks are trying to resolve that problem, so please be patient with us. You can still hear, I believe, the proceedings of this morning's session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So is that okay to continue moving with the hearing?
At this point in time, we can still move forward with the hearing.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam DST, for that. So basically, that brings us to the end of our morning session, as we were dealing with items 1 through 13. So just want to capture the ones that have been held for the morning session. So we held item number 9, item number 10, item number 11, and that's it. Okay, all right. So we will now start deliberating the items that have been held. The first item that was held was item 9. Item 9 is 41 Nielsen Avenue. And we have with us Ida, the agent.
Sorry, good morning, Madam Chair. Ida Evangelista, on behalf of the owners of 41 Nielsen Avenue.
All right, thank you. Just bear with me. Naomi Tolajajic. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Naomi.
It's Toyajic.
Oh, thank you.
That's why I'm kind of I misspelled my name in the email, Anyway, I'm not going to be speaking. I'm going to be an observer. I just need to know how many speakers there are for this number.
So are you a neighbor?
I am a member of the Residents Association.
Okay, all right. All right. Is Karen there with us? Karen Sabaran? Okay, I did not hear from Karen. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you, Karen.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that.
No problem, no problem. Just bear with us for a few minutes. Renata, you with us? Okay, so Renata, it appears, has not signed in. If you still wish to speak, Renata, you have a couple of minutes to join. So if you wish to speak, please just try to join in. Sylvia Richmond.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. So Ida, we have your application before us. This is for 41 Nielsen Avenue. And this application is to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling. And we have before us 2 variances, one for the maximum permitted FS floor area, and the other is for the area of a platform on the 2nd story, both at the front and the rear. So would you like to make a presentation to the committee?
Yes, I would, Madam Chair.
All right, so Ida, you have 5 minutes and you can present to the committee now.
Okay, Madam Chair and members, firstly, I would like to start off by saying I have read through the letters of opposition. I understand, and even speaking with the owner, Ricky, he spoke to, I believe, the owners at 39. They had concerns with the rear balcony for privacy issues. And relating to the rear balcony, we would like to remove that variance. However, we would like to continue to keep the front balcony variance. So, because I do understand they do have privacy, they're concerned with the privacy, and Ricky will be living in this home with his wife and children, and potentially, third. And he would like to be neighborly and start off on a good foot.
Okay,
And on
so
that note,
sorry, Ida, if I may just want to clarify. So you want to withdraw the variance number 2 partially for the proposed rear balcony?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, so you are removing the variance, but just for my clarity, will you still have a rear balcony, which would meet the zoning bylaw?
At this point, Madam Chair, it's just a roof. There's just an overhang on the roof. From what we were doing, what the intent was, there is an overhang on the roof at the at the rear.
Okay.
And they were just going to include a small, seating area that would be off, but it will continue to be the roof line, the overhang.
Okay, all right, but you are certainly withdrawing that particular portion of the variance as it relates to the rear balcony. Okay, thank you.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Please carry on.
Okay, so what we have in front of you is a 2-story home, so we are asking for 2 variances. The 2 variances that we are asking for is an increase in floor area We are asking for an additional 27.01 square meters. The family does have the 2 children. The additional space does allow for a 4th bedroom. They do have 2 sets of parents that live out of town in the neighborhood, and that's what makes it an interesting neighborhood. With the front balcony, with this particular type of home, working with staff, to create articulation on the front of the home. So we have various step backs on the home. So it's not, when you're looking at the home from the street, it's not just this, straight wall that's in front of you. And that's the reason for the various step backs, the articulation. Another comment in the letter of opposition is from one of the neighbors that they will be looking at, one of the walls because the home is a little bit longer than theirs. We will be working with the neighbors because I do understand that the neighbor at number 43 is also concerned with a tree that is leaning towards our in support of the forestry conditions. And I respectfully submit that this application does meet the 4 tests and is characteristic to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Ida, for your presentation. Members of the committee, any questions for Ida at this time? Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yes, Ida, you said that the proposal is for an additional 27 meters squared. But when I look at variance 1, it calls for an increase of 29 meters squared. Are you requesting an amendment to variance 1, or are you in fact proposing an additional 29 meters squared?
Through you, Madam Chair, let me just do the quick math. What we are proposed. Through you, Madam Chair, Member Taylor, what I've done is we are permitted 200, as of right, 247.09 meters squared, and we are asking for 276.1 meters squared. And the math on that is 29.01. That is correct. My apologies.
Okay, no problem. It's not a big deal, but I just wanted to understand it.
Yes,
no
that
problem.
is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Taylor, for the question and clarification. Any further questions for Ida before I move on to speaking with the residents? I see none. All right. And we have lost Don for us. Oh, he's back. Okay. All right. So we are now going to move to speaking with, I believe Naomi had mentioned that she is here to observe. So I will move to the next speaker, Karen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Karen, and you have 5 minutes.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to address the committee. My name is Karen Sabrin, and I live at 39 Nielsen Avenue, directly south of number 41 Nielsen. I'm hoping that you have my slides, which I sent in with my request to participate.
Just
can I ask that you put up my...
Yeah, we're just confirming with staff, and staff is putting it up right now. There you go.
Great, thank you. So the applicant is asking for a variance to increase the FSI. There are currently 41 houses on Nielsen Avenue, south of Slowly Road, and right now only 3 of those houses have a larger floor space index than the bylaw permits. So I disagree with what was put forth by Ms. Evangelista, that the houses are within character. The houses are all somewhat different in appearance. I'm not quibbling with that, but some of the houses are renovated bungalows, others are newer 2 stories, but 93% of the houses are below an FSI of 0.5. The 10 houses in the immediate area of number 41 are all within the FSI. 2 of the houses that she showed you, 44 and 47 at the top, those 2 are actually within the FSI. This demonstrates it is possible to build a home within the bylaw and respect the character of the neighborhood. And many of us in the neighborhood have raised our families in homes much smaller than what is the generous proposed bylaw. There are plenty of families on the street who have had family members live with them, and we've all been able to do that. So I'd also just want to point out, if you're looking at the chart that was included, that number 25 was not actually permitted, the variance for FSI. And also, those homes that were mentioned, they're on Harewood and Brooklawn. Brooklawn has much larger lots, and Harewood is not on our street. The neighborhood is diverse, and it's actually diverse from street to street. So could I have the next attachment? It's it's the rear view of 39 Nielsen. It's the rear, I think it's before this one with the balcony. Just keep going back, yep. Back further. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. So if 41 Nielsen is built as shown, my backyard is going to see a large wall extending halfway down the backyard. So you can see that's my house. I lived in my house and raised my family in that house. I have a child. The people on the other side intend to raise their families. Many people have bungalows or small 2-stories or have even renovated, but they've all stayed within. So the requested increase to the FSI will make 41 Nielsen 14% bigger than the permitted. And that's already a generous floor area. That's 247 meters. The 30 meters requested is not minor in nature, especially when you consider that if the variance is granted, number 41 is going to be more than double the size of the surrounding homes. It's not appropriate for the size of the land. It's too big, it's too long, it results in major changes to the landscape with the trees and has an effect on the drainage. So I'm respectfully asking that you deny the variance for a larger FSI because it doesn't meet the test required. If, however, you do grant the variance, I would respectfully ask that instead of a solid driveway, that a permeable driveway be installed to offset the larger FSI. So the second thing I'd like to speak to is the variance for the balcony. And to be honest, I'm really kind of confused because Ms. Evangelista said that there isn't going to be a second floor balcony. And that's something that the owner told me when he came to speak to me. And I'm looking at the drawing and I see a second floor balcony. So I'd like clarification and I'd like it on record. Is there going to be a second floor balcony or not?
Okay. Thank you, Karen. You're up for your time limit. Do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, I'd also just like to say if they go ahead with a balcony, even a minor, even the one within the variance, I think it's only respectful to put in some sort of privacy screening because as it's written, it's a small space, yes, but it's still hanging over and looking into my yard. So I would just ask that given that 13 Nielsen and 21 Nielsen are the only ones with balconies and 13 was given, if you look at the pictures, you can see that it was given privacy screening. So I just want to say thank you very much for giving me the time to speak and for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Karen, for your time. I just want to clarify that the request that is before us as part of this application is only for the increase in the floor area. There's no changes to the building length. I wouldn't say changes. There are no variances required for the building length or depth or any setbacks or any other matter. The only variance that is before us is for the increase in the permitted floor area. And I do hear your comments regarding the balconies at the back. And just for clarification, the agent, Ida, did confirm that they are withdrawing the variance related to the rear balcony, which doesn't mean that they will not have some sort of a space there, but whatever platform or overhang, as she was mentioning, would be in compliance with the zoning bylaw. The variance itself is being removed. We can have additional clarification from Ida when she comes back and she responds to your concerns, but that is what she has advised us as of today, this morning. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there and clarify the scope of this application. We have certainly noted down your comments regarding the permeable paver and the privacy screen, which I'm sure Ida will certainly respond to. All right, thank you very much. I just wanted to make that clear. The next on our list is Renata. Renata, are you with us? Okay, so all right, so we checked again. Renata is not with us. We have to move on. Sylvia Richmond.
Hi there, my name is Sylvia Richmond. I'm at 43 Nielsen Avenue, just directly next door. I just wanted to make a note that I do appreciate, much like our neighbors, that the homeowner or builder would like to improve this property because it has been vacant for many years and is currently not safe to occupy in its current condition. The only thing I am very concerned about is there is a private tree that is straddling our property line. In the backyard, it actually measures about 2.5 feet away from a window well, and I'm more concerned about when they excavate the ground, it's going to disrupt the root system of that tree, which is already leading towards my house, and I'm concerned that at about a year or so, that tree will fall and ultimately cause damage. The only thing I ask is that if the COA does not recommend excavation of this tree, that we the homeowner or the builder agrees to excavate it before they continue with construction, because there will be a lot of damage with this tree. I noticed on the tree declaration form that they had filled out, they mentioned that there is no construction activity required, that there's no removal of a protected tree, and this technically, this tree measures about 35 centimeters, and it should be, if you are building, I believe, you should be about 2.4 meters away from that tree, which the window well of this house is currently not. So willing to work with the homeowner or builder of this house to make sure we address the situation. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. That's excellent. I think your concerns were very, accurately portrayed here. We also, I believe, have received your written submission. Anyway, so we will let Ida respond to your concerns and the questions that you raised. I also have, I wasn't clear which tree it was, so maybe Ida can help us. So that brings us to the end of the list of registered speakers. Before I do, any questions at this time, members of the committee? I see none. All right. So moving along, now can we have Ida, please, online? Ida?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Thank you, Ida. So, Ida, you heard Karen and Sylvia express their concerns, and they had some questions and clarification. Do you mind elaborating on those, please?
Yes. So the home that we are proposing, now let's talk about the rear balcony. So as I mentioned, we are removing that variance. Okay. There is an overhang at the back. It's a roof line. It will remain a roof line for an indefinite period of time. I've talked to the owners, and like I mentioned at the onset, they are going to be living in this house. So they want to keep that neighborly relationship with the owners of both 39 and 43. So that variance has been removed. Now, the permeable pavers on the driveway, I don't foresee a problem with that, although I would like to add, and Madam Chair, as you mentioned, we have no lot coverage, we have no landscape variance, we have no side yards, no height. We are asking for an additional space. We have 2 sets of parents that live out of town that do visit often. We have 2 kids with a potential of a third. So for asking for an additional 29 square meters, I respectfully submit that I don't believe it is egregious. The photos that I included in my submission is to speak to the area, the immediate and the surrounding context of the area. For this, you know, we have to understand what we're proposing to you today. It will continue to maintain an appropriate relationship with the surrounding area. This is an eclectic area. We have a mix of all different variety of lot sizes, home styles, and that's what makes the neighborhood, and that's, you know, they all live harmoniously together. So I respectfully submit that what we are proposing is not, you know, egregious. We are asking for, you know, a small variance for the floor area. And the front balcony, as we see, it's in the immediate context and the surrounding context, so it does speak to the neighborhood. I feel, and I do feel that this particular front elevation, the balcony does help break up that front wall.
Okay.
So
No, I think, sorry
now.
to cut you here, Ida. I just want to, in the fullness of time, I just want to make sure we're sort of sticking to the concerns that were raised. You addressed the permeable pavers, you've addressed the balcony, you've clarified the balcony. There was a request from Karen for a privacy screen. Is there any thoughts on that?
We can include an opaque screening. Yes, we were amenable to that.
So you're amenable to privacy screens?
To privacy screening, yes. At the front balcony?
I believe the one that affects Karen is at the back, right?
We have no balcony at the back.
So that is being removed. Though that one is being removed.
That's on her side. But however, yes, if, you know, should that ever arise, and if they want privacy screening at the front, we can include opaque glass. Although I believe planning and urban design would prefer clear, just to break up that front wall.
Okay. Okay.
So now let's address Sylvia at number 43 with the tree. I understand her concerns. We have an arborist actually going out to the site today to take a look at everything. We will, and again, we will work with them to, you know, if they would like the tree removed, as they had mentioned, we can work with them to do that. Once we remove that tree, we can put up columnar trees to give them privacy and to give Ricky and his family privacy. And there are many ways that we can address those concerns. If the tree is to be remain, then we would hydrovac or hand dig around the root system. And again, there are forestry conditions, so we have to address their forestry concerns regarding trees on the property and within the surrounding property line.
Okay, so the conditions of urban forestry, were they applicable to the tree that Sylvia had flagged?
Well, because it is close to the lot line, it will be included in the arborist report. And now that there are concerns from the neighbor, I'll make sure it's included.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvia. Ida, for that. Now, moving on, members of the committee, any questions for Sylvia? Oh, sorry, for Ida. My apologies. Any questions for Ida, who's the agent? All right, okay. Thank you, Ida, and thank you all the speakers who took their time today to speak with us. Members of the committee, I now take the matter into committee. Any comment? Okay, Member Saeed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to appreciate the understanding between the agent and the neighbors, 39 and 43. That's really good, Ida. You have been accommodating, listening to the privacy issues, and as well as the other tree, but forestry, permeable, and all those things. That's really good. And Madam Chair, I believe that the variance before the committee are minor in nature, because it's only the floor area, which is 29 square meter. And I appreciate that the balcony matter has been resolved, the rear balcony. So in that case, I am willing to support this application.
Okay, all right. Any other comment, Member Macaulay?
No, I'm prepared to second Syed's proposal. And I also want to express my appreciation to the two speakers in the residence and the applicant who have said that they are willing to work together. That certainly is helpful.
Okay, thank you, Member Macaulay. So we do not have a motion yet. Those comments from Member Said were his comments only. So now can I have a motion? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the motion for approval of item number 9, subject to the conditions of urban forestry and also the variance as amended.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the application as amended for variance number 2, subject to condition of urban forestry. May I have a seconder to this motion, please? Member Macaulays, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application as amended has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you to everyone. Moving to the next item that was held this morning is item number 10. And item number 10 is for 28 Lehan Drive. And do we have Yasu with us? All right, Yasu, you're online?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Right, thank you. Just stay with us. Then we have Brian Milne as the neighbor.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, thank you, Brian. Julianne.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, thank you very much. Just bear with us for a few minutes. So Yasu, we have your application before us, and this is an application to construct a new story detached dwelling. I believe this application was deferred at the March 31st virtual hearing, and you are back with some revisions on the application. And we have before us 7 variances. Would you like to make a presentation?
Yes, Madam.
You have 5 minutes, Yasu.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we had this application in the past, and then we received a call from the councillor. He has some concern, as well as we have some concerns received from the neighbors as well. So we worked with the councillor, and then we eliminated 2 of the variances. So now we have discussed with the councillor in detail how this one is proposed. So he is basically satisfied with our amendments, and then he has no objection on this. The main variances that we have is that one is the coverage of the whole project, which is it's common in that neighborhood, and the flanked yard setback, which is we have one key octagonal shape for structure in the corner, which is taking a little bit less side the flanked yard setback, but the rest of the building is it's far away from the property line. And there was some concern about the safety of the driving. We went through with the transportation department. They have no concern or anything, because the whole entire house is far away from the curb, and there's no visibility issues or anything like that. They can even see one full car without any problem, because it's over 20 meters, like, not one full car. You can see about 4 cars from the curb of the line to the front of the wall of the house. So it's basically the rest of the variances are minor in nature, and then it's meets the 4 tests of this application process. And we went through in detail with the planning department, transportation, and city councillor, and they have no objection on this application at this time.
Okay, thank you, Yasu. Members of the committee, any questions for Yasu at this time? All right, I see none. Thank you, Yasu. Just stay with us. I will move on to speaking with the residents. Brian.
Hi, how's everybody doing today?
Very well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Perfect. Great.
Excellent, excellent.
Just a couple of small things. I'm at 24 Leanne, which is across the street west of the residence of 28. And we moved in here, myself, my wife, and we now have a family. And my main concern, and it's not necessarily specific to this location, but my concern is the area in general has seen an uptick in rooming houses and student houses. I've noticed over the past couple of years, more and more houses are being used as secondary residences and are, they're essentially being used as student houses. Now, I know the current location, as it's set up, the bungalow is a rental unit. I believe there's two families living in there. I'm sure it can be corrected if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. So my main concern here is that this location, as it's being built, which is obviously bigger, is going to be used as some sort of student housing or some sort of rooming house. As I said, I have a family, young kids. I have concerns with, that stuff. Obviously, I don't need to state them, but that was my primary concern. The second concern I have is relates to the stop sign. So it's right now set up. It's a weird intersection. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but I'm sure you can take a look. It's got a two-way stop, but the stop signs don't align perfectly, so it's a weird intersection. Oftentimes I find people speeding through there, driving fast through there. So my concern is with building a bigger house around on the corner, is that going to block people from potentially, are they going to go faster? Are they not going to see people walking on the road? There's no sidewalk in that area. That's just more of a minor concern. I don't know if that can be addressed or discussed in this forum, but that was two things that I had thought of. So thank you very much for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. I'm not an expert on traffic, but I would say that this application was circulated by to the Transportation Department, and we did receive a memo from the department saying that the proposal as has been depicted is acceptable. So I'm relying on their expertise and so I can confirm based on that they've seen it and they did not flag any issues with the traffic movement in that area. And you can see on the screen that is a copy of the memo that we received from the Transportation Services confirming their acceptance of the proposal.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, you're right. They're the experts. So if they're okay with it, then
Yes.
I'm okay with it as well. So thank you very much for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian. And I believe we can. And any questions for Brian, members of the committee at this time? I see none. All right. Thanks, Brian. We now move to Julianne Poon. Julianne.
Hi, how are you guys?
Very good. Thank you. Hope you're well as well.
So I just wanted to get some clarification and also express some concerns with some of the requested variances with 28 Lehan Drive. So my first question that I wasn't really completely sure about when looking at the plans is, are they eliminating the side driveway and then putting it in the front, or are they trying to have two driveways, one in the front and one at the side?
Okay, we'll have that clarification from Yasu, the applicant. Based on my review of the application and the plans that are attached to the agenda and the application, there's one driveway off of Lehan Drive.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I can see on the plans.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I just wasn't sure, and if there were two, then I would take issue with that.
Okay.
I guess some of my concerns just relate to like the fact that it just seems like every single, I don't know, bylaw in terms of lot coverage is kind of exceeding, and I don't really understand what the purpose is what the purpose is of it. I know that some of the other neighbors have expressed concerns that the actual applicant doesn't actually live in the building. Instead, he rents it out. And so a lot of the concerns for me probably wouldn't be raised by him because they don't affect him. Like, for example, the proposed building is supposed to be 1.34 meters away from, I believe, abutting Trick Crescent. Like, to me, that seems pretty close. And when I'm thinking about, like, I know that you guys have talked about how the counselor and the Ministry of Transportation, or whatever it's called, had no concerns with the traffic, but living where I live, I can tell you that there are a lot of people that speed through, especially through Lehan Drive. I have a small 5-year-old child that loves to play on the front lot, and I'm definitely worried with the speeding through and with the with where the actual house is going to be built and how it's sort of like jutting out, that there's going to be safety issues for my child. And on top of that, when I think about things like snow removal, well, that lot's right in the corner. So if you're moving the house closer to that corner, that means that there during the winter when we have a huge dump of snowfall, that's going to impede drivers who, in all honesty, a lot of them are already unsafe in that area in terms of driving, and it's going to make it unsafe in terms of any types of like car crashes, people walking on the street, because again, there's no sidewalks
Okay.
in that area. And um, yeah, I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about whether or not, because the owner doesn't actually live in the house, I'm concerned about how many people he plans on having live there as a rooming house. It's already, my understanding is that it's already being used as a rooming house. I've seen it in the past few years of him posting listings on Kijiji to sell, to rent out by room as opposed to the floor or the entire house.
Okay.
And so to build a house of this size, I just worry that like how many people are going to be living in this dwelling, how many cars are going to be on the street.
All right, Julianne, those are great comments. I would say I can certainly help you with the variances, but what I can't help you is with speeding traffic and who's going to be living in the building. That is something that clearly is not within the jurisdiction, nor we can regulate who lives in any particular house. So unfortunately, I can't help you with that. I believe there are regulations and requirements for a rooming house, and should there be I'm not sure if there are the permits required or something from the city, I'm not sure. But should the neighbors feel that this is going to be converted to a rooming house, I think you would be, well within your rights to contact the city and advise them, of your concerns, and I believe the appropriate department would be able to help you. But unfortunately, that's not within the purview of this committee here today. So I can't help you with that, but I've certainly heard your comments, and we will request Yasu to respond to the concerns and maybe provide some clarification to you. Any questions for Julianne, members of the committee? Okay, I see none. Thank you. Yasu?
Yes, Madam Chair. As I said, the transportation doesn't have any issues on this, and the total depth of the house is further back, almost 19 meters from the curb line, which is way over to any standard Scarborough houses being done in the new facilities. And further one point is that the existing concrete porch and the steps are further to the front than the proposed ones. So if you look at the site plan detailing, you can see that the concrete porch is and the concrete porch and the steps almost touching to the sidewalk, which is leading to the driveway. So that's how the existing steps are there. But our steps and the porch is further back on the proposed house, and that's meets the front yard setback zoning bylaws, so which the house is further back compared to the existing house at the place. Yes, it's correct. The owner is not living there. They purchased this land and then they wanted to build their dream home and then move in there. Yes, there might be some renters at this time because it's not appropriately in a living condition for them to live in there. They have a big family and they're looking for this approval so that they can build a new house and move into this beautiful neighborhood. That's their main thing. And if there's any rooming houses or anything in that nature, the bylaw officers are there to look after that issue. But I don't believe that's going to be an issue at this present time. They are not using as a rooming house or anything. It's all regulated by the the building permit department for two units, and I believe it's been rented as that. And in the future, it will be used as a single family home.
Okay, thank you, Yasu, for that clarification. Members of the committee, any questions for Yasu? I see none. All right, Yasu, any closing remarks before I go into the committee?
No, as I said, these variances are the all the variants would be asking. It's approved in the same neighborhood in the past, and we already went through this very extensively with the councillor, and we had 2-3 meetings with the councillor on this matter, and
Yes.
finally it's been resolved on
Yes.
this way.
Yeah, we heard you. Thank you, Yasu. All right, members of the committee, I take the matter into committee. Any comments, any notes? Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Yasu for making these revisions. I remember this was considered in March 2021 with the committee, and it went back to have the revisions, and I appreciate you have solved the issue of balcony area variance that has been removed. And Madam Chair, I understand the variance today before the Committee of Adjustment, all 7 variances before us, they are minor in nature, and we can consider them privately. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment, members? All right, moving along, may I have a motion, please? Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the motion for approval of item number 10, 28 Lehan Drive, and there are no conditions attached to this approval.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
All right, all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved and there are no conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so item 10 has been dealt with. We are now going to move to item 11 that was held this morning for further discussion. Item 11 is 4694 to 4696 Kingston Road to permit a construction of a 12-story mixed-use building with 168 residential units and 65 square meters of office space. And there is a parallel site plan application underway. And what we have before us are 8 variances. And I just want to check, do we have the agent with us, Mike?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you, Mike. Good morning. All right, I will do the roll call for the members of the community who have registered to speak with us. We have Sheila Togood.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Sheila. Just please bear with us for a few minutes. Richard D. Skeen.
Present.
Thank you. And Frederick. Do we have Frederick? Frederick, can you say yes or no?
No, just don't.
Okay, all right. Frederick, I think we know you're online. We were having a little difficulty in hearing you, so you have a few minutes if you need to adjust your mic or your audio issues. All right, so we are now going to go and speak with Mike. Mike, would you like to make a presentation to the committee on this application?
I would, and Madam Chair, if I can clarify, Frederick is the project architect. He's here in case there's any specific questions on the application, but he's not looking to speak.
Oh, I see. Okay, I did not have that comment. Okay, so Frederick is the architect. Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. I should also mention that I have Kim Kovar, who is the project or the owner solicitor, on the line as well. She's on the line with me.
Okay.
She's just here in case there's any questions that she may want to answer as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike, for clarifying that. Okay, and you indicated that you'd like to make a presentation?
I do, and I have presentation materials that I've filed with the committee. If those can be pulled up, that would be really appreciated.
Sure. Give me a moment as staff is pulling it up. There you go. So the floor is yours, and you have 5 minutes, Mike.
Thank you very much. So the application is a long time coming, and we're very excited to be finally here to share it with you today. The subject site, if you can go to the next page, please. The subject site is located on the north side of Kingston Road, just south of the Highland Creek. And then going to the next slide, it's surrounded to the north by Highland Creek, to the east by a place of worship, to the west by kind of a sprawling automotive use, and then to the south by Kingston Road. And what's important to note about Kingston Road here is that it's actually a really wide right-of-way. It has a right-of-way width of between approximately 53 and 58 meters in front of the subject site, which is even wider than what the planned right-of-way width is, which is 45 meters plus. If you go to the next slide, the site is located along a designated avenue in the official plan on map 2, and designated mixed-use areas on the land use map 23. And what this means essentially is that it's a location where growth is anticipated and encouraged, particularly in a mid-rise form, as evidenced by the fact that it was subject to actually one of the first avenue studies in the city back in 2003 from Guildwood Station to the southwest and up to Highland Creek. Next slide. The site backs onto the Highland Creek Ravine, as I mentioned before, and through discussions with the TRCA and with the city, will convey 40% of the land to the TRCA, and that land includes both existing ravine lands and lands that are currently used as a parking lot, all of which will be rehabilitated and renaturalized as part of the development. Next slide. There are 8 variances being requested, and I'll just focus on the ones that were brought up in the objection or the opposition letters from some of the residents. The first is to permit the increased height from 8 to 12 stories. And although it's only technically 12 stories, because really the height is 11 stories, but the mechanical penthouse has a small internal amenity space, which is used to access the rooftop patio, outdoor patio, and is therefore counted as a story technically by the bylaw, whereas really it's an 11-story building with a small additional space in the roof. In addition, it's worth noting that the building would fit well below an angular plane measured from Kingston Road, from a height of 80% of the right-of-way width in accordance with the mid-rise guidelines. And it would also be fit well below an angular plane from the closest neighborhoods, which are located to the west, and except for one small piece of the northwest corner where a parapet encroaches into the angular plane, about half a meter, but it's only one corner. It's only the parapet. In addition, it's worth noting that the applicable bylaw does not provide a maximum height in meters, only in stories. So the developer could have theoretically built an 8-story building to the same height, but with taller stories, but that's not what's being proposed here. Next slide. The next variance I wanted to highlight is the rear yard setback. So today, the building would have no issue meeting the 7.5 meter rear yard setback. The actual lot line is actually off the page, and would have no issue meeting that setback. But because of the land is being conveyed to the TRCA at the back of the site, the future rear lot line, which is shown in red there at the top of the page, would be 3 meters from the building. So that's the reason why we're asking for a rear yard setback variance. It's essentially to allow for the future condition of the after the conveyance to the TRCA. It really is more of a technical variance, and the building would have no impact on the ravine, as the building will be set back about 20 meters from the top of bank. Next slide. And actually, maybe the next slide as well. I'll skip to one if there were, transportation, exactly. So variants 6 and 7 were brought up by a couple of the opposition letters, and I just want to note that these are really technical variances as well. The West Hill bylaw has no requirement for visitor parking, 0, whereas all that it requires is 1 space per residential unit and 2 spaces for the small office component. So a total of 170 spaces are required, and the proposal actually includes 170 spaces. It actually includes the correct overall number as per the West Hill bylaw. And we could have provided that requirement and not ask for a variance, but the owner, the city, the transportation consultant all thought that it would be appropriate to apply the requirements of bylaw 569/2013 instead, even though it doesn't technically apply to the site. And when those requirements are calculated, they call for 144 resident spaces, 25 visitor spaces, and 1 commercial space, so a total of 170 as well. So this is the same numbers being provided in total, but in a different configuration that is more in line with the the citywide zoning bylaw and with the recent directions in the city to generally reduce parking. In summary, if you go to the next slide, just to complete the presentation, It's my opinion that the variances would meet the 4 tests for a minor variance application under the Planning Act, and I would ask the committee to approve the application. And if I have another minute, I'll just mention that with respect to the objection letters that were filed, we're happy to respond to those concerns as part of the question period.
Mike, your time is up, and that's why I won't be able to allow more time. We certainly have received, your presentation. We looked at it, and thank you for describing all that to us this morning. I'll see when we speak to the residents, what the issues are, and then maybe committee members can, have any questions if they have. Let's see. So committee members, do you have any questions for Mike at this time? Member Macaulay.
Thank you. I'm just going over my notes, and I believe you had a variance for a building setback from Kingston Road.
That is correct, yes. The variance
is for 0 setback for the 4-story underground parking garage. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the reason for that variance is because we're essentially getting squeezed on the north side of the site. The fact that we're giving up 40% of the site to the TRCA means that in order to get an efficient parking garage, we had to push the building a little bit closer to the street along Kingston. And in addition, because of the really wide right-of-way width of Kingston Road, which is between, as I mentioned, 53 and 58 meters in front of the subject site, there's actually plenty of boulevard space in front of the site to allow for trees. And if you want to pull up the site plan, you'll be able to see that there's trees being proposed within the right-of-way, and as well as within the subject site in front of the building. So there's plenty of space for landscaping, both in the public realm and in front of the building on private land as well.
Okay. I have a second question for the applicant, and again, it's just understanding the application. Your parking, your variance for parking is to allow 144 parking spaces. Is that being defined as how many parking spaces for residents and how many visitor parking spaces? Or is it just a minimum parking of 144 spaces?
Yeah, through the chair, the requirement in the actual bylaw that applies, which is the West Hill Community Zoning Bylaw, is actually only for resident spaces. There's no requirement for visitor spaces whatsoever. So what we've done is we've essentially reduced the requirement for resident spaces from 168 down to 144. And then we're also providing an additional 25 visitor spaces which are not required. So they're not required by the bylaw, but we felt it was appropriate, and the city did as well. The engineering department, the Transportation Services, felt that it would be helpful to essentially apply the citywide zoning bylaw parking rates, so that would apply to the site if it were if it were not a whole in the citywide zoning bylaw. So that's what we've done. We've essentially treated it as if it were subject to the new bylaw, in order to apply with some more kind of up-to-date parking rates to the site.
But did that then mean that you can't provide 144 residence parking spaces?
No, we can provide 144. We could have provided 168 actually as well, but in order to provide for the visitor, we've reduced our resident parking space requirement to 144 from 168.
Okay, I guess my question here is, I'm getting confused with these numbers. You're providing for 168 parking spaces, is that correct?
We're providing for 170 in total. So
okay.
What's being provided is 144 for residents, 25 for visitors, and 1 for the commercial use. And then we basically we could have provided in a different breakdown and met the bylaw, but we thought it was appropriate to actually ask for the variance and then provide for visitor parking as well, and also reduce the commercial parking requirement from 2 to 1, which is what the citywide zoning bylaw would require.
All right, so you're providing, you have 168 units, and you're providing 144 parking spaces for the residents and 25 for visitors and 1 for commercial. Is that the variance that you're requesting?
That's correct, yes.
Yes.
Okay. No more questions of the applicant. Thank you.
And just to clarify then, through you, Madam Chair, that complies with the citywide bylaw 569/2013 standards, the more recent standards. The West Hill zoning bylaw parking standards are dated.
Okay, all right. And is that Kim?
Yes, it is.
Okay, sorry, I didn't catch your name. All right, so does that clarify, Member Macaulay, your question?
Yes, that clarifies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question for Mike or Kim? Member Saeed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike, I'm looking at the community planning conditions, and there is one of the conditions which says that you have to enter into an agreement where there is a contribution of certain funds involved there for improvement of the park over the period. So are you showing your acknowledgement to that conditions?
Through the chair, yes, we have reviewed the conditions from both community planning and from TRCA in detail. We have the TRCA and with planning, and we are fully supportive of those conditions.
Okay, thank you. All right, so those conditions are on the screen right now. And Mike, you have confirmed that there are no concerns with the recommended conditions should the committee approve this application and these be included.
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay. Member Said, does that satisfy your question?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Before I proceed, I just want to, for record, state that we did receive letters from the councillor's office, so Councillor Paul Ainsley, and he has, he has some concerns with the proposed building. We also received from Councillor McKelvey, and there's also some concerns expressed in her letter as well. And then we talked about the community planning staff report recommending those conditions. So that's just, I just wanted to put that on record. And the committee members have had a chance to review those letters that have been submitted. All right, I move now to speaking with the resident who's registered with us today, Sheila.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Thank
Sheila.
you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, and you have 5 minutes, so please go ahead.
Yes, I am a resident just down the street at 4662 Kingston Road, a townhouse complex of 100 units. And we have had a lot of building going on in our neighborhood. Just down the street from this proposal are going to be 565 units, I believe, put in just over the bridge, very close by. And this is, there was also one just recently, the Grand Motel over here, where there were concerns about services like schools and police, and I believe that they had not been included in the discussions prior to the application. So that is a concern for me. Also, the presentation talks about the Kingston Road. Of course, Kingston Road is a major thoroughfare, so there is a great deal of traffic on that road. Now, as I understand it, the parking entrance is going to be in the front, and I would imagine it's a divided highway as well. So I would think they would either have to have an entry across the divided highway, or they would have to come in from the east in order to access that area. The height seems to me absolutely not a minor variance. It is, as far as I can see, they've had a sales office for probably 6 months or so, and now we are receiving this application, which seems to be kind of strange. The one at, I think it's going to be called Highland Commons, just down the street, with the 500 and so on units. It looks, I don't know how many stories it is, but it's certainly not 12 or 11, as we've been told, stories. So a concern of precedent here, there's also the Lido Motel right adjacent to our properties, that if it were to follow this precedent of a motel being taken over and bought up for building condominiums, would really impact terribly on our residents. So those are, I think, my major concerns about the parking as well. We, even though we have a lot of visitor parking in our area and we have garages and driveways, there's still always a parking a problem. And I agree that this, if this is with the West Hill bylaw, it certainly is out of date, because there are, it's not like downtown where people can hop a subway or something or bike. It's a busy street. A lot of people have more than one car in our community here. So, and of course you can't park on Kingston Road. So those are my concerns, and I thank you for listening to them today.
Thank you, Sheila, for your comments. Certainly some very good points, which I would defer to Mike to respond to when he gets his turn. But in terms of the timing of the application, I just want to clarify that typically minor variance applications, it's a fair comment, you know, that there's a site plan application that has been going on for a while, and now this application is coming before the committee. This is very typical in terms of the planning process, that minor variance applications typically come towards the end when the zoning needs to be resolved. Site plan typically does not require any public process, so that's why you have not seen that application before the community, as site plans do not require public meetings, so that's why the timing is as such. But I would defer to, as I said, to Mike to confirm with you the other comments or concerns that you have raised. So now I'm going to move, before I do, any comments or questions for Sheila? I see none. Thank you, Sheila, for taking the time to speak with us. I now move to Richard Skeen.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Richard. You have 5 minutes, sir, and please go ahead.
Okay. Initially, I just thought I'd be an observer, but in addition to what Sheila has spoken about, I share a lot of the same concerns that she does. And even though you know, Farmland has worked collectively and actively with the city and the Toronto region and that, we're basically getting this at the 11th hour. I also don't really share the same opinion of Farmland that the requested variants, both individually and cumulatively, really meet the tests. This isn't a minor variance in nature, and it's not necessarily desirable. It's not necessarily desirable for the appropriate development and use of these lands. I'm simply going to suggest to you that the use of the lands as proposed is inappropriate, and the size of the property and the variances that are being sought are really wrong. I share the concerns regarding the height going from 8 to 12. That only just imposes things on the neighboring community. If you actually take a look at the plan, there's reference that the agent actually spoke about just being a car lot next door to this property, but effectively this property actually will eventually, or the building itself will actually be overlooking the pool area and the tennis court area of YCC 501. And so effectively it being a situation where the privacy of the homeowners there, as well as anyone basically making use of those facilities that are going to be impacted. So the other thing that has already been mentioned is the parking and everything else. Effectively, what I'm hearing is that even though there's going to be 168 units, you're only really going to be providing 144 spaces for the residents of that building. And I think that's totally inappropriate, unless you're going to have, or not necessarily outlaw, but basically prohibit those people parking anywhere. And where those people are going to park are in the surrounding area of this community. And things that Sheila had mentioned regarding parking, this is something that we've experienced as being directors at YCC 501. It's a condominium, and it's going to be based on having some of the similar rules and problems that we've already experienced. And so if you look beyond that, if you even look across the street and see whether or not there's sufficient parking for the condominium across the street, they are now parking on the back street on Beach Grove. If you go a little bit further down the road, you take a look at what others are doing in the community. So you have churches that, when there's prayer time, make use of the streets and basically parking in private spaces and streets. And so anyways, that's on the parking side. That's the one that I have really the most problems with. And as far as the variances for the setbacks, if this lot was of sufficient size, it shouldn't require any setback variances whatsoever. The lot is just too small to house the number of people that are going on this property. And so I guess that's essentially the problem that I see. And I'm basically looking at something that is going to cause difficulties later on down the road.
Okay, thank you.
What it really looks like is the developer is trying to shoehorn a building on a lot that is just too small.
Yeah.
And trying to maximize the profitability.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Your time is up. So, so thank you for your comments, and I will certainly request Mike or Kim to address those in a few minutes. Members of the committee, any questions for the speaker, Richard? Okay, I see none. Thank you to both Sheila and Richard for taking the time to speak with us today. Now I'm going to move to Mike and Kim.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Happy to answer those or can respond to some of those concerns. And Kim, please fill in if I miss anything.
Please go ahead.
But just in terms of maybe the first one was about the fact there was maybe too much development in the area. And I think it's important for us to recognize that this is an area that's meant for intensification. It's an avenue dedicated to mixed-use areas. It's an area where the city has, for years now, like since 2003, identified as a location where development is going to be located. And really, there hasn't been a whole lot. It's only really in the past few years that development started to come. This is an avenue that is, in a lot of ways, it still has a lot of vacant sites, a lot of automotive uses, a lot of hotels and motels that are not really in operation or in minimal operation. It's an area where intensification should be welcomed where it's appropriate. In terms of the capacity of schools, I think that was a comment made by one of the residents. The capacity was reviewed by city staff and circulated to the school board, and there were no concerns expressed about capacity. About the Kingston Road kind of traffic comment, yes, there will be parking entrance at the front of the building. However, that's essentially the same condition that there is right now.
Okay.
Except there's actually two driveways right now off of Kingston Road, and the proposal would only include one.
Carry on, Mike. I was just trying to get the site plan on the screen.
Okay, no problem. And I apologize. There's some work being done next door if you're hearing a lot of background noise. Sorry about that. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
I'll let the car pass. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll try to move to a different room. I really apologize.
No, no,
Give
no.
me just
You know, so far
10
it's been
seconds.
going fine. So far it's been going well. No
It's okay?
problem. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Carry
Okay.
on.
Okay. Okay, so then, yeah, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, so there are two driveways off of Kingston Road today, and although yes, there will be a driveway and proposals, it would only be for one driveway. So this is you consolidating the curb cuts from 2 to 1. With respect to the height, so whether it's a minor variance or not, I think that the question is really does the variance meet the intent and purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaw? And given that both the official plan and the zoning bylaw already envision the site as a mid-rise site with an 8-story height, then yes, I think it does meet the intent. You know, the question is whether that height has any additional impact, that additional 3 stories. And as I've mentioned before, it would the building would be below an angular plane measured from the front at the appropriate height. And it would be essentially below an angular plane measured from the neighborhood to the rear, except for one tiny corner of the site, just about a half a meter tall, where the parapet encroaches into that angular plane. With respect to visitor parking, so certainly we wanted to provide visitor parking as one of the residents mentioned. I think it's a good thing to do, and we're implementing what the citywide zoning bylaw would call for. But I'm told in terms of resident parking that my client is actually the parking rate for residents actually is supported by sales data so far in the building. That parking demand is not one to one, but parking demand is actually more in line with the citywide zoning bylaw. And then I'll also just mention, the reality is that we're providing visitor parking, so visitors aren't going to park off site. And then for residents, if people need a second car, or if they want a parking space but they're all sold out, so we're just not going to buy units in the building. And that's just the trend we're seeing on development citywide. Second last point was about the setback. So the lot is of sufficient size for the development. 40% of it is being conveyed to the TRCA, and the setback variances really are really quite minor. I mean, at the front, we're actually meeting the 3-meter setback to the building face. The 3-meter setback above grade, except that there's a masonry which encroaches in a few areas 0.3 meters into that, reducing the front yard setback to 2.7. And then there's these kind of canopy or frame structures around the townhouse units, the integrated townhouse units in front of the building, which encroach 0.6 meters into the front yard setback. And because those two projections aren't considered or aren't identified as permitted projections in a bylaw, they're considered part of the building. But really the building face and the windows are all set back 3 meters from the front yard. And then in terms of the rear setback, I think I've said it before, but we do meet the rear setback today. We're just because we're conveying land, we'll have to ask for that variance. It's really a technical variance. And just finally about consultation. We'd spoken about consultation with the councillor a couple of times throughout the development process. And she never indicated that she wanted a public meeting or that she wanted us to reach out to specific residents. We reached out to, essentially all that she mentioned was for us to reach out to their neighbors to the east, the Buddhist Meditation Center. And we have had several conversations with them. And we're actually talking with them right now about, construction management items, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. If there was any indication that we should hold a public meeting or anything like that, we would have been glad to do it, but it was never indicated that would be something that would be necessary in this area of the city. So again, we're happy to have it, happy to have had it, but it was never indicated by the ward council. So we're actually quite surprised by her letter indicating objections to the application.
Yeah.
Kim, is there anything else that I might have missed?
I think the only other thing I might offer, Madam Chair, is it's worth remembering this application is sort of, as you'd indicated, the last step in a lengthy site plan review process, which began back with city staff in 2019. Mm-hmm. This application it is the result of modifications that have been made along the way to address comments from the TRCA and various city departments. And what you have before you now is actually quite a lengthy and very thorough planning analysis from community planning staff in their memo of July 20th, which supports the variances being requested in their entirety, subject to the conditions. And you also have your city's ravine and natural feature protection staff and transportation services staff relating to the parking variances, raising no concerns with the application. And of course, the TRCA letter confirming that there are no setback or safety issues relating to the TRCA interest in this matter and our dedication of the lands. So I think there has been an extremely thorough review, and all of the planning concerns have been addressed to the full satisfaction of all the relevant city staff and public agencies.
All right, thank you, Kim, for those comments. Yes, we certainly have seen all those correspondences received from various departments and signing off, and I do understand and appreciate the lengthy process of the site plan and a very thorough report from community planning advising us on each of the aspects of the application that's before us, so we certainly acknowledge that. Members of the committee, any questions for Mike or Kim at this time? Can I have the screen back, Ali? Thank you. All right, unless someone had raised any hands. So no questions or comments. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for taking your time today to speak with us. I now take the matter into committee. Committee members, any comments or discussion at this time on this application? I think we received the presentation in detail. We heard the concerns of the residents, and Mike had addressed those concerns. We also have a very thorough planning report advising us of each of the aspects of the application. Mr. Said, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for the speakers for giving us a very good presentation on all the aspects of this development. Madam Chair, I have a few comments on that. I will go through quickly. The variances before the committee, there are 8 variances, and I appreciate that the city various department have done a thorough review, and we have the comments from different quarters of the planning process. That's really good. But there are 2 variances. I have some comments on that. The variance number 1, I'm talking about that, and variance number 6. The variance number 1 is about the height of the building. Which to my opinion, it's not a minor variance because the height may create some problems in the future, and especially should the committee approve that, it may be setting a precedent for the buildings around there. The motels are there, commercial plazas are there. So this is going to be a precedent for those to go for this kind of options in the future. So that is one concern for that.
If I can sort of jump in quickly, Member Said, I would like to say that within the larger policy context and within the context of the avenue study, the ones that have been highlighted by planning staff, this sort of fits in within that vision. Yes, it does appear to be a jump from 8 stories to 12 stories, but overall the vision for this area from a policy framework, this is something that the city was envisioning for the avenues, and particularly for this location or this area. That area, I live close by. I've seen changes happening over the years. The context is changing. Development is occurring. These are underutilized and sites that have the potential to intensify. Intensification is always a subject that we can always discuss, but in my opinion, these sites in particular are ripe for intensification, and the type of housing that the city is looking for, and I think this would be a good contribution to the community and within that area in terms of providing the housing that's needed. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I appreciate. I have due respect for all of your comments. This is really very informative. So I will go to the second comment, and which is about the parking variance number 6. There are going to be 24 dwellings without any parking space. So 24 at this moment, when most of the residents, even they have more than 1 vehicle. So, and currently, if you visit the area, that locations, I have seen people are parking in the side streets, in the private spaces, and even currently there is an issue of parking there. So I wonder if this building and this project is going to be a long-term project. I mean, after 5 years, what is going to be happening with this parking issue. So if we have to consider long-term results, repercussions of that, the builder should be considering it, how this is going to impact on not only that building and that resident, but the buildings around that. So in my opinion, the parking variance is also not a minor variance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your comment. Any other comment at this time? Member Macaulay.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you. Would staff go to the site context plan? Would they bring that up onto the screen, please?
Sure, Member Macaulay. Ali is bringing it up. Give us a moment. There you go. It's coming up.
Thank you. The reason I have asked for this is because this application really has some implications for a number of things that are happening in the area and changes that we expect to happen in the area. First of all, Highway Kingston Road at this particular location is Kingston Road. At the bridge, it is Highway 2A, which is a median divided provincial highway with a speed limit of 80 kilometers per hour. As soon as you come over the bridge into front of this property, it's 60 kilometers per hour, and the police are doing a wonderful job of getting tickets at this location. So this location has a different context from Kingston Road further away or other arterial roads. It still appears to be a highway. It may in 10 years be different, but I'm concerned that it is a highway at the moment with high speeds. And this property is proposed to be redeveloped. As you can see, there are adjacent properties. The adjacent property is a car lot. Presumably that's not going to last for the next 10 years, or at least we hope not. I understand there is kind of a L-shaped property, which is a motel just opposite Beach Grove Drive. I believe that property has also been bought and is undergoing redevelopment. So what we're looking at on this side of the valley are changes. I agree that 12 stories is really quite high for this particular location. And that 12 stories will now set a precedent for those other lands being developed. I know that on the other side of the valley, there are applications that have not yet been approved with similar heights. And so I have a difficulty as a variance accepting 12 stories for this property. The next item that I have some concern with is the parking spaces. They're proposing 144 resident spaces, but they're proposing 168 residents. Again, if you look at this, this is not an area that has good bus transportation. It may, again, in 10 years, when this development is completed, have better bus transportation. But the majority of people in this area have to have a car. And if you're not providing a parking space for them, I question where would the owners be able to park? So again, although I understand City of Toronto is moving to lesser parking for this particular location at this context, I would suggest we need one parking space for every resident. My third concern with this really is the zero setback from Kingston Road. Again, looking at this, you can see that Kingston Road is very wide, median divided, constructed 20, 30, 40 years ago. It was also constructed not expecting to have any major development on the north side. So on the north side of Kingston Road in the public right-of-way are all the services, be the gas, the hydro, the telephone, the cable, water mains. To have the parking garage to be 0 step back from those utilities is worrisome. The purpose of a 10-foot or 3-meter setback really is to allow sufficient space between the utilities under the public right-of-way and the building itself. So again, I have a concern with that.
Can I ask you
That
a
is-
question, Member Macaulay? Can you ask, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but I just want to ask you a question. So I appreciate your concern with the reduced front yard setback, but don't you think that the appropriate utility authorities have looked that through the site plan process and established that there is no concern?
I have no assurance that they have. I don't believe the application at this point would be at the design drawing stage so that the exact location and the utility stakeouts have been done.
But Councillor, sorry, Member Macaulay, those type of issues are usually seen through and reviewed through site plan process, and we understand there's a site plan process that has been going on for a while now. So as part of the circulation process, the applications are circulated to all these different authorities and utilities, right? If there was a concern, it would have surfaced, and staff would not have recommended, because utilities is not a light matter, it's a serious matter. And if there was any issue, it would have been flagged by now. It doesn't need a design, it
I
doesn't,
would hope it would have been, but I have no assurance that it was. And as I said, I don't expect that at this stage in approval, that the applicant has got to building permit drawings to the point that the utilities are looking at their stakeouts.
okay, can I, sorry, I'm a little curious now, and I want to ask staff for some clarification on that. Staff, would you confirm that these issues have been looked through the process of site plan?
What I can verify, through the chair, what I can verify is that the application has been circulated to the necessary utility companies, and I will identify those companies: Bell Canada, Enbridge, Hydro One, Ontario Power Generation, Rogers, TELUS, NAV Canada. That's all I can verify at this point.
Okay, thank you. And I think it's important to know that in the, I believe it's in the staff report, somewhere I read that they've gone through 2 submissions already of the site plan, and what you see before is an evolution that has come through 2 circulations. So I'm quite confident with our city staff that those issues probably have been dealt with. I'm with you, Member Macaulay. If you have concerns with the setback from a zoning bylaw perspective, I hear you, but from a technical perspective, I certainly rely on our city staff that has been looked after before it has come before us. Go ahead.
Through the chair, just a point of clarification. The application was also circulated to Toronto Hydro for comments.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to point it out to you, Member Macaulay. Thank you. Please carry on.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. I didn't hear anything from stormwater management. I didn't hear anything from engineering services as to where the sewers are. In your public boulevard, there are a lot of facilities, and one of the problems we've had is that more and more people or agencies want to put their services, such as Rogers, into those that setback. we didn't even talk about street lighting. There's a number of them. And the purpose, as I said, of the setback is to protect those services and to protect the building from any damage if there is any work needed done by those services. So I will not support the application for a zero setback from the street line. So my three issues are,
I don't
I'm
think it's
concerned about the
zero.
zero setback.
It's not zero.
Zero.
Sorry?
It is
Underground.
zero.
For the underground. For the underground, yes.
Yes, and that's where the concern is.
Yes, I understand that. I hear
The
you. I just
setback
wanted
of
to clarify.
zero versus the underground services.
Fair enough. No, I
So
get you. Carry on.
the setback is zero. So my concern is the zero setback. My concern is parking for the residents. And my concern is, to a certain extent, the height of the building, which at 12 stories will certainly set a precedent for other development in that area. And we are expecting and hoping that there will be other development along this area. So those are my comments on this, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I think we've had a good hearing on this one, and unless Member Taylor, you are, you want to deliver, you want to say something about this before I ask for a motion? Go ahead. Okay, I see none. All right. So I think we've deliberated quite well on that. On this application, we've looked at all the variances. We've heard the comments from the applicant. We've heard from the residents. I now look for a motion on this application. Can I have a motion, please? Member Taylor.
Yeah, Madam Chair, it seems as if I see this proposal differently than my colleagues and some of the interested neighbors. I think this is an exceptionally good proposal. I think it's quite in keeping with the vision of the Avenue district in which it is located. It is perhaps disadvantaged by the fact that it's kind of first out of the blocks in terms of implementing that district, but I think it's a part of an overall vision, and it meets that division quite well. Concerns raised about parking, height of building, the impact of the setback on utilities, etc. I'm satisfied have all been covered off by the Community Planning Department, who did a very thorough review in consultation with a number of departments. And I'm satisfied that, as I say, it's an exceptionally good proposal in my view, and I support it. And I move approval subject to conditions requested by TRCA and the Community Planning Department. That would be my motion.
Thank you, Member Taylor. May I have a seconder, please? There is no seconder. The motion fails. Can I have a motion now on the application? Member Macaulay.
Thank you. I believe a lot of work has been done on this application. However, as I said, I have concerns with 3 of those items. Given those concerns, I can defer the application for the applicants to take a further view of them. Or alternatively, my recommendation at the moment is that the application be refused, that I hope that we will see revisions and that the application will come forward in the future. Hopefully also the community will have had a chance to take a look at this application as requested by the councillors. So my recommendation is that this application be refused. It's not minor. it's not appropriate for the area.
Sorry, and I got distracted for just a moment. Could you please, was that a motion?
Yes, that was a motion.
To-
Motion to refuse the application. Not minor, not appropriate.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion on the floor to refuse the application. May I have a seconder, please?
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
So we have a seconder. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? For record, although I can't vote because it'll be a tie, but for record, I oppose the motion. All right, the decision has been made. The application has been denied. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to meet with us this morning. This brings us to the end of the agenda for the 10 a.m. morning slot. Our next session is due to start at 1:30 p.m. That would deal with items 14 to 27. So all those for items 14 to 27, see you at 1:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Through the chair, for all our YouTube viewers, this session is going to end. So at 1:30 p.m., please join our other YouTube session, the Committee of Adjustment public hearing for the PM session, basically. Yeah, so once again at 1:30, please join our PM session on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. So 1:30 p.m. will be the PM session for all those who are streaming through the YouTube channel. Thank you. See you in a bit.